Continues to bring you the latest on the vaccine race as Russia will now start its COVID-19 vaccination drive on December 5th, making it the first country in the world to vaccinate citizens outside of trials. According to Moscow's mayor, the first people to receive the shot will be teachers, doctors and social workers. Russian President Vladimir Putin had earlier ordered a mass vaccination drive after UK approved Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine for widespread use. Putin also said that Russia will produce 2 million vaccine doses in the next few days. While mass vaccination in Russia was expected to begin in early 2021, Russia has been rushing to keep up with the pace with other vaccine contenders. The Russian vaccine Sputnik V became the first vaccine in the world to be registered. Its makers have said that the vaccine is 95% effective in preventing COVID-19. Earlier this month, Russia even started the mass production of Sputnik V vaccine. Currently, the country is the fourth worst affected in the world behind the United States, India and Brazil, with over 2.3 million cases. Also, for more details, let's quickly go across to our correspondent Julia Chapman, who's joining us live from Russia at this hour. Let's quickly go across to Julia. Julia, what will be the priority sections receiving the vaccine in Russia?
Well, already the vaccine has been rolled out for a number of teachers and doctors and other frontline medical workers here in Russia. That's a process that's been going on alongside phase 3 of clinical trials, which got underway in August. And that entire process happened after Russia had already registered its Sputnik V vaccine. That happened in early August, with regulators giving a very early approval before the clinical trials had come to an end. Indeed, they still haven't come to an end. But nevertheless, Russia has said that it's pretty satisfied with the data that it's been seeing and is ready to start rolling out Sputnik V more widely. So starting from tomorrow, it will be possible to sign up for a vaccination slot here in Moscow. They'll be opening 70 different vaccination points. And in the early days, it'll still just be teachers, doctors. They're widening the criteria slightly to government workers with client-facing roles, people who engage with members of the public frequently. It's not being fully rolled out to the general public just yet, but we're expecting that to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Julia, as the vaccine race is heating up, what are the challenges ahead in terms of global distribution?
Well, there are a lot of challenges, of course, although the developers of Sputnik V say that the vaccine is uniquely positioned to be transported very easily. It can be stored in a powder form and transported that way at temperatures between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius, meaning there's no need for cold storage, although we understand that the liquid dose of the vaccine is indeed stored at temperatures below zero. But of course, Russia is a very big country and there will be a lot of challenges with distributing the vaccine around Russia, although President Vladimir Putin says Russians will be the first ones who will get access to Sputnik V. But there are a number of countries, including India, that will be getting Sputnik V as well. There's already a manufacturer in India that is taking part in the clinical trials of Sputnik V and is poised to be ready to mass produce the vaccine once it receives regulatory approval there. Right. And there are a lot of other countries that have expressed interest in the vaccine as well. It's a relatively cheap vaccine compared to a lot of the other major contenders, although there are still some hesitations, particularly in the West, with regards to the transparency of the clinical trials. But here in Russia, they're saying that the vaccine is nearly ready and it is safe and effective.
We'll also be discussing the transparency. But having said that, Julia, I'd like to ask you, this mass vaccine, the vaccination drive was expected to take place in early 2021. What explains this rush?
Well, I think most countries around the world are in a very big hurry. We're already seeing, of course, the UK getting prepared to start its mass vaccination program next week already. So from Russia's perspective, the sooner the better. Of course, here in Russia today, there was a record 28,145 new coronavirus cases. That's the highest number that Russia has seen throughout the pandemic. So the situation is still serious, although the rate of rising infections has slowed somewhat in Russia. it's still certainly a big issue that the country is tackling. And here in Moscow, there have also been record cases today, upwards of 7,000 in the capital, and the restrictions haven't quite been meeting the level of rising cases. So there's been a lot of criticism that the government is preferring instead to roll out the vaccine as quickly as possible so they don't have to put any more limitations on the economy.
Right, Julia, the rush is understandable, but at the same time, the European Medicines Agency has also warned of risks of COVID-19 vaccine race. It has said that its longer procedure to approve vaccines was more appropriate as it was based on more evidence and even required more checks than the emergency procedure chosen by countries like Britain now. What do experts have to say about fast-track vaccine approval in Russia?
Well, there was a lot of criticism, of course, at the beginning on August 11th when Russian regulators already approved Sputnik V before phase 3 of the clinical trials had gotten underway. There was a huge amount of concern that giving it regulatory approval that early precluded anything other than a successful outcome for the clinical trials. But slowly we've started to see some more data that has allayed some of those concerns. But there are still some concerns that there isn't full transparency here, but that's been denied by the Russians. They say that they are publishing data as quickly as the trial allows, and they are publishing it in peer-reviewed international medical journals and really trying to be as transparent as possible. That's what they are saying. Indeed, yesterday, Russian officials gave a very long briefing to the United Nations Special General Assembly on COVID-19 and on vaccines, trying to convince the world that Sputnik V is a safe vaccine. And part of the reason that they say that is that it's based on a human virus vector that brings part of the virus into the human body. That is in contrast, of course, to the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which will be using a chimpanzee viral vector. The Russians insist that their method is much safer, and they say that they are being as open with the data as they possibly can, and when phase 3 does come to an end finally, which we're expecting in the coming weeks, they will fully publish the results of the trial in peer-reviewed journals.
Right. Here's hoping that the vaccine is as safe as Russia is claiming it to be. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your inputs.